Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome back to Zelonka and the Premium Expansion DLC for Farming Simulator 22. We're going to take a look at the 3 brand new crops that have come out with the expansion: red beets, carrots and parsnips. And we're going to figure out which one is the best to do, which one is the best to grow and which one will give you the best yield. Now we've got ourselves a field here, field number 33, which you can have a look down there, is a 1.33 acre field. It's not very big at all, nice and long and good space around it, and it is square and regular. So long as we use the same size field, we will be able to get at least the yield per acre, and that could be applied to other fields. We're not using any precision farming, so that won't come into it. We do have crop destruction turned off, but everything else is turned on: lime, stones, periodic ploughing, everything like that. Now Giants have brought out with their blog posts over the last couple of months, they brought out some information on each of the 3 crops that they shared around the potential yields per acre, the potential cost that you might get from that, and how much seed you might use when you're planting. So we're going to go and put some of those to the test as well, compare our results with what they expect. On the left here is all of our equipment. We're going to go through and get the field prepped. I'm going to prep it up to the stage of being able to plant it, and then I'm going to save the game. We'll drop out and use that save game 3 times to go through each of the 3 crops. So we have a tractor over there with a lime spreader. We'll go through and lime first. We've got a mulcher on the back there. Then we're going to go through plough. We will go through and do some rock picking, and then we might go through and apply some fertilizer. On the other side over here, we've got the planter set up with the rotary hiller and the planter, obviously new pieces of equipment to the game as part of the vegetables. We've got a sprayer there to deal with any weeds. We do have weeds turned on, so we will see if we get any. We probably shouldn't, because we have ploughing. We are going to plough the field, so we shouldn't get any weeds, but we'll wait and see. Then we've got a trailer and the self-propelled harvester. We're going to use that in this field, obviously overkill, but this is about getting a result rather than using the best equipment for it. We're not taking into account the cost of equipment in production, because basically all 3 crops use exactly the same equipment. So whether we're planting carrots, parsnips or red beet, we'd be using the same planter and the same harvester. So it would only be if you were wanting to compare this to the likes of an arable crop, soybeans, corn or something like that, where you have different equipment, that it would become critical. So that is enough talking for me. We're going to go and jump into the equipment, get this field up and ready, get it prepped. We'll touch base once we're done there, have a quick look, and then we'll be into some planting. So catch you very soon. So there we go, we have our seed bed all ready to start planting into. We have been around, applied lime, we've mulched the field, we've ploughed the field, we've picked the rocks, and we have gone and given it 50% fertilizer. Now, if my interpretation is correct, the rotary hiller that we have with the planter will give another 50% of our fertilization, which means we shouldn't have to apply any more fertilizer. And based on the fact we've ploughed, I'm wondering whether we're going to get weeds or not. I'm not quite sure whether we will or not, but we do have the herbicide there if we need to. But otherwise, we should be pretty much good to go. I'm going to save the game now. We're going to exit out, carry on, and we're going to get our first crops planted and go through the harvest cycle. It's a moment of truth. Our first crop we're going to plant is our red beets. Now, Giants have indicated this takes about 40 litres per acre. The other crops are about 10 litres of seed per acre. So we're probably going to have to top up at some stage. I am using EasyDev, so disclaimer there, if you see me do that, we're using EasyDev to fill our tools up. We did it for the lime and the fertilizer as well. I have got GPS equipped to this tractor, so we will of course use that to make sure we get some nice, clean, even lines. But let's get things turned on. Now this is of course the first time I've actually used any of these tools in any sorts of anger, so I am intrigued to see how they all work out. There we go, that's all up and running. You can see the planter lines up with the hiller and everything is going where it should. So I'm just going to turn my GPS on. We'll make sure we get our A and B point set up and try and get a nice straight line going here so we can get this all planted correctly. There we go, that is our A point. set our B point there, turn that on, we bring our lines up, got it set to the right width, yes we do, that should be perfectly good. And there we go, that is our first crop going in. You can see the seed going down there, 94% already, so 93. We've used, what, 1 litre to go about halfway along. Very impressive. Now what I'm going to do actually when we get to the end here is I'm actually going to have a look and see whether we do have a second stage of fertilisation, just to double check whether that was actually correct or not. And there you go, you can see we're getting that extra dark blue line from the rotary hiller, so it is getting things done as we'd expect. A couple of little spots I missed with the lime by the looks of things. That will be the same on each of the crops, because obviously we saved the game after we did all that work, so they're all going to be exactly the same there with that miss bit. So that's good, that's all working out perfectly. So let's carry on, we'll go and get these planted, we'll let them grow, see if they get any weeds, and then we'll get into harvesting them. I'm not going to show you the whole process because obviously the end result is what I'm most interested in, and I'm sure you are as well. But we will keep an eye on things as we go and give you little updates on our way through before we get to where those final figures are. Well, that's our first field of beets planted. We've got a yield bonus of plus 100%, so it looks like we've done pretty much everything right. Now, interestingly enough, we used nowhere near 40 litres of seed, and we actually planted 1.3 acres, so we should have used maybe 50 litres of seed, but we've actually only used just over 20, and in fact, if we take a look at the stats page, it's actually a good point to check a couple of those stats out. So our actual sown hectares, or acres as it's measured in here, 1.31 acres sown, and up the top here, seed usage, 21.14 litres of seed. So we've actually used probably half of what Giants had indicated on their sheet that we would be using. Now I don't know whether that relates to what mode we're playing on. We do have our economy set to easy, whether that might adjust it between easy and normal, I'm not sure. But we're doing it on easy, and that is what we've learned. So let's park things up, skip some time forward, keep an eye on the growth, and we'll probably see you once we're ready to harvest, unless we need to apply some herbicide and deal with some weeds. Well, here we are. Beets are ready to harvest. No weeds. We didn't get any weeds as I suspected, so we haven't actually had to do anything else to them. We've still got that yield bonus of pretty much 100%, depends where we're standing in the field. Right on the edge there it says 99, but estimated potential harvest 62,000 litres, over 1.3 acres, so that's not a bad quantity if that's what we get out. So we're going to set things up. We are going to have to use a worker on the harvester because it doesn't actually have a capacity in the hopper as far as I understand, so we'll figure that out. We do have crop destruction turned on, but I will turn that off. I lie, I have already turned it off. We have got crop destruction turned off because I thought we may have to drive on the crop to unload. Not ideal, I know, but for the purposes of this exercise, that's what we're going to do. So let's get things set up. We'll get harvesting our beets. And there we go. First time getting some beets out of the ground. First time harvesting root crops for me here on Zalonga and with the premium expansion. As I suspected, this harvester does require a trailer next to it the whole time. It will stop if you don't have anything in it. So we've got a worker running on it. We are going to see what happens when we get to the end here when they try and turn around. Just have to deal with it as best we can. Get that unload, keep doing what it's doing, and let them get turned around. So final yield here for the red beets, we filled 4 trailers and then have an extra 6,842 litres in this trailer. Gave us a grand total of 57,242 litres off the 1.31 acres. So we're back here into the field with it prepped and ready to go, and we're getting our carrots planted, second of our 3 crops to look at. So we've got our carrots all planted and we're straight into harvest. We had an estimated or expected yield of about 82,000 litres, so even higher than what we had on the beets. So interesting again to see exactly what we end up with. But look at this trailer, already over a third full, so going to be another busy effort harvesting this. The results are in for the carrots, 6 full trailers plus an extra 1,000 litres here, and this one for a grand total of 76,601 litres. It's the third time planting the field here. Last crop to get done is the parsnips, so we'll get through this just as quick as we can and we'll have some results very soon. But it's looking interesting already through the 2 crops we've already done. Let's carry on and we'll see you soon. And here we are, ready to go. Estimated or potential harvest quantity calculated down there in the field info, 74,615 litres. So we're going to pull the harvester out, get things up and running and see where we end up. So that's all 3 crops harvested and a final tally here on our parsnips, 68,098 litres, 5 full trailers plus 5,098 litres we have here. So I'm going to head off and crunch some numbers, take a look at the potential profit that I can get from each of the crops and come back with a bit of a verdict about which one's best. So by way of comparison, before we look at our final figures, I have gone and planted the field with soybeans as a comparable crop to the arable. It obviously doesn't have the straw, so I don't have to worry about taking that into account, and a lot of people seem to think soybeans is one of the better earning crops. Some of the earlier research would argue otherwise, but it was the easiest one to do, so here we are harvesting a field of soybeans and we'll see what the yield is on at the end and be able to compare that to the carrots, red beets and parsnips. So field harvested soybeans done 4,742 litres total, so that will be used as our control, as our comparison between the root crops of carrots, parsnips and red beet and more traditional arable crops such as soybeans. So we'll go and take a look at the results. So let's take a look at the results. I've put together a bit of a spreadsheet with some of the key information. Now, firstly, I need to apologise and make a correction. I was working in acres on the field and all of Giant's information around seed usage, etc. is in hectares. So you'll see across the very top line there, I've put in the Giant's information. Our field of 0.54 hectares used 21 litres of seed, and when I adjust that up to 1 hectare, it is actually 39.1, so very close to the 40. Likewise for parsnip and carrots, the adjusted seed for the area gets to almost the 10, which matches what Giants had, but we do seem to see some very big differentials between yield. Now, there could be some factors which affect this. Giants may be basing this on a completely unprepared field, just go in and sow it and that's what you're going to get, not one where we have a 100% yield bonus. So that could be the reason why there is a difference there between their information and ours. But we're also seeing a very big difference between the average selling price. Now the pricing I have used there under the average selling price is for easy mode, and that's taking it from the price fluctuations and showing the maximum price. I have looked at the prices across the course of a year and this isn't too far wrong. So for the exercise, I think this is going to be the best way to demonstrate which is the best crop. I've also got the pricing down there for normal and hard as an adjustment for the different products. So when we have a look through our 3 crops we harvested, red beets generated 57,000 litres, parsnips 68,000 litres and carrots 76,500 litres. When we go and adjust that to a hectare, we're over 100,000 litres per hectare for red beets, up to 142,000 there for carrots. So some pretty big yields. The other thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is meant to be a thing or not, is when the trailer was full, the auger kept on unloading onto the harvester. It didn't stop and pause and wait for the next trailer to get there. So there was actually technically product being dropped on the ground, so we didn't even manage to capture everything. So going further through into the information there, you can see using the average sell price, you can see the income per hectare. So for red beets, the income per hectare based on harvesting 106,000 litres of red beet At $486, the maximum sell price would bring in just over $51,500 per hectare. Parsnips, 126,000 litres at $522 per hectare would be $65,800. And for carrots, 141,800 litres at $525 per 1,000 litres would give you $74,500. So a very clear difference between the three crops. Carrots, definitely the best. Parsnips, second there, and red beet coming in third. Now, our control crop, soybeans. We got 4,700 litres off that. Area adjusted brings it up to just under 8,800 litres. Using the same methodology for picking the price, $3,711 per 1,000 litres. Potential income per hectare for soybeans is $32,500. So pretty much half the price of the parsnips, obviously a lot less than the carrots, and a little bit closer to the red beet, but still quite some way away. As the economy mode changes, obviously the order doesn't change, but the amount you do earn from each crop does get a little bit closer. So $10,000 worth of soybeans and $24,000 worth of carrots might not feel like quite the difference. So the other thing to factor in here, which I haven't looked at, is the cost of equipment. Comparing red beets, parsnip and carrots, like I said at the start, they all use exactly the same equipment for planting and harvesting, so there's really no material difference between those. Where that could be factored in is when you look at your soybeans or your other arable crops, where you can use a combine. The only difference would be the type of seeder you might require. Everything else would be pretty much straightforward. So there is some potential difference there. The third difference that hasn't been discussed is the labour component. It did not take me very long to harvest that field of soybeans compared to the other three crops. So there is a real consideration there around how much labour and how much time you want to invest into your crops. But that's something to look at in a little bit further detail at another stage. Purely looking today at which of those three root crops, if you're wanting to try one, would be the best. And in my opinion, carrots is going to give you the best outcome, the best return on your time and investment. There's no difference between the preparation time for the carrots, parsnips, red beets. It's only the time you need to harvest, and obviously being a higher yielding crop, it is going to take a little bit longer to harvest. So that's really the only factor, but I think for the amount you could earn, might just about be worth it. So there's my findings. I hope that has been helpful to you. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is there enough benefit there to use root crops and try out root crops versus doing something with the arable crops? I'd be keen to hear. I'm going to do a follow-up video to this, and we're going to take a look at the new production chains, the soup and the preserved foods, and the potato crisps as well, to see if there is any benefit to looking at those. So keep an eye out for that video coming very soon as a follow-up to this one. Like I said, I hope you found that one informative. As always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.